Okay, let's get this into alphabetical order. We have Abyss there, we have Arkham Horror, right, and got the new move with you guys. What other A's? We've got Adrenaline, and we got something which falls on the floor because of Gricka. Did you just call me Dum Dum? Hello Chappets and welcome to another Board Games Everybody Should ... A video series of board games, and I point out all the pros and cons and let you decide whether it's a board game for you or not. Today I'm looking at a game, well in this video I'm looking at a game which should scratch your Nathan Drake itch, which is called Tobago. Well, actually, it won't scratch your Nathan Drake itch at all because there's no gunfighting, there's no jumping around or climbing, and there's definitely no zombie monsterish things, and there's no love interest either. But there is treasure, and there is an island, and there's puzzles to trying to find these treasures. So what I'm going to do is I am going to show you how to set this game up. I'm going to show you how to play the game, then I'll do a review pointing out the pros and cons, and then I'll tell you if it's my cup of tea before letting you decide whether this is something that you should be searching out in the deepest recesses of some tropical forest. First up, you'll construct the island from the 3 map tiles. You can combine these however you wish. There's a combination of 32 different islands that you can make with them. Then when you're satisfied, you will clamp them together with these pieces. Next up, you'll scatter the 4 huts, 3 palm trees and 3 statues around the island. All similar objects must be 4 spaces apart, so 2 palm trees cannot be within 4 spaces of each other. Again, a space cannot contain a hut, a tree and a statue. They all must contain at least just one object. Statues cannot be placed adjacent to the sea. They need to be at least 1 space away because they have a magic power which will activate during the course of the game. Again, the statues need to be facing at least one of the edges of the space that they're in. Objects cannot be placed in the sea, but they can be placed in a lake. Then you'll take the treasure cards. These have monetary values on them from 2 to 6. This is how you're going to win the game, by having the most money. There are also 2 curse cards which you're going to have to shuffle into the bottom 27 cards. When this is done, you'll place 12 treasure cards on top of that and then place the deck next to the board. You'll also have to shuffle the 52 clue cards and place them next to the board, as well as the 20 amulets. Players will take an ATV of their colour plus the compass roses and place their ATV anywhere on the island that they wish. Next to the board, you're going to need to sort out the 4 coloured cubes into 4 piles. These are going to indicate the 4 treasures which are going to be available throughout the game, making sure that you have enough space underneath to place clue cards. Talking of the clue cards, each player will be dealt 4 of the clue cards, unless you're playing a 2-player game in which each player will receive 6. You also deal 1 additional card to each player. Players look at their hand of cards and then choose one of them to place out under one of the treasures, placing one of their coloured compass roses with it. These clue cards indicate where the treasures are. For instance, the grey treasure is not on the largest beach. The largest beach is the one which has the most beach spaces connected together. So in this case, here. So the grey treasure is definitely not here, but it could be in any of these other spaces. The black treasure is in a forest, and there are 3 forests, and so the treasure could be in any of these spaces in the forests. The white treasure is 2 spaces away from the sea. The whole coastline of the island could be 2 spaces away from the sea, so all the way around. And the red treasure is not 2 spaces next to a palm tree. Although this means 2 spaces next to a palm tree, it doesn't mean the space that even includes the palm tree. So it could be there, or it could be here. So that's the setup, and now we're ready to play. On a player's turn, after you've chosen your starting player, they will have one of 2 actions that they can possibly do. One action is to move their ATV 3 legs around the map. And the other action that they can do is they can add another clue to the location of one of these 4 treasures. Let's talk about the ATVs and moving 3 legs. A leg is basically the duration for one of the terrains. So this red car could move to here for 1 leg, or it could move all the way to here for 1 leg because it's staying in the forest. If at any time it traverses into a different terrain, that would be 1 space, which would be a leg. And then it could move again for the 3rd leg all the way to the edge of the mountain. Another example, the blue could traverse 1 leg into the lake, and then 1 leg into the stream, and then 1 leg into the forest. For this movement, you do not have to use all 3 legs. You could stop after 1 or 2. When you add a clue to where a treasure is, you need to make sure of 2 things. Number 1, that your clue does not contradict with a previously played clue. So for instance, I could not say that the treasure for the brown was 1 space away from a palm tree when someone else has already said it's not 1 or 2 spaces away from a palm tree. I could not say that the treasure is not in the forest after someone has said that it is in the forest, but I could say that it's not in the largest forest. When you play a clue card and everyone is verified that it's okay, you place your compass rose to say that it's you that played that clue. Another thing your clue must do is eliminate at least 1 space as a potential place for the treasure. So if I played this here, I am saying that it is 2 spaces away from the sea, but it's not on a mountain. So as you can see, this clue actually removes quite a few spaces. From the mountain area here next to the sea, the mountain area here next to the sea, and also the mountain areas here next to the sea. If a player decides that they're going to play this card, which says that this clue is 1 space away from a statue, that again will eliminate more spaces. And as you narrow the game down, there'll be less and less places that the treasure can be, and this is where you can use the cubes. These cubes will then identify the last remaining spaces that the treasure will be in. So in the case of the white treasure, it could be here or here. These spaces are 2 spaces away from the sea and 1 space next to a statue. It could be here, here or here, or here and here. Eventually, a player may play a card which will eliminate every space apart from 1. And that means that the treasure is in that 1 location. Now on your turn, if you are already in that space where the treasure is, or you move into that space where the treasure is, you claim a free action of digging up the treasure. You remove the cube, and then you add one of your compass roses to the chain of clues for that treasure. This is when we break into a slight mini game. What will happen is each of the players that have played a clue towards finding this treasure will receive a treasure card. So in this case, the green player will receive 2 treasure cards. The red player will receive 2 treasure cards, and the blue player will receive 1 treasure card. These players will look at these cards and memorize what number is on them before handing them back and placing them in the middle of the table. What will happen then is an additional card will be added to this pile. One player will shuffle these at random, and then we will start a kind of auction bidding phase. What will happen is the first card will be turned over. Now, The first player that has first dibs on this treasure is the red player. Now the red player could say, yeah, I'll take this card, or say, no, I'm gonna pass. So let's say that the red player passed. They pass to the blue player. The blue player then decides if they want to take it or not. He passes. The red player goes back to them again and they pass. Green player says, you know what, I'm gonna take that card. They remove their seal and they take the card and put that in front of themselves. You then reveal the next card. Ooh, the red player says, pass, but the blue player says, no, I'm going to take this one. And you continue doing this until there are no more treasures left. A treasure may get passed entirely, which means that it will go into a discard pile. But as soon as all the treasure cards have been claimed by all the players that had dug into the treasure, you finish that by removing all the clue cards, and then the player that dug up the treasure will play another clue card in that space, placing their rows, and play continues with the next player. At the end of your turn, if you have less cards than your hand size at the beginning of the game, so 4 for a 3 and 4 player game or 6 for a 2 player game, you just draw another clue card and add it to your hand. After a treasure has been discovered, that is when the magic will happen. What you'll need to do is you'll need to take 3 of the medallions, like so, and you'll need to place them in line of view of each of the statues. So in this case, this statue is facing this way and it faces just to the coast here, so there's a medallion here. This statue is facing the same direction and this medallion will appear here at the coast here. Whereas this statue over here is facing all the way down here, so the medallion will appear there. Then all the statues will turn in a clockwise order, so their face is facing another edge of the space that they're in. And then guess what will happen the next time treasure is dug up? Yes, 3 more medallions will be added. So in this case, this medallion would go here, this medallion would go here, and this medallion would go there, and then they would turn again. So what do these wonderful magical medallions do? Wow! The first thing you're going to need to do is collect them. Now you can collect them on your turn. If your vehicle is already on a space with the medallion, you just pick it up for free. If you're moving your ATV around and you move onto a space with a medallion, you can pick it up. You can pick up many of these maybe on your turn. But what do? Well, they do a majority of things. These are very, very lucky medallions. These give you like an extra go. So you could use 1 medallion to move your vehicle another 3 legs. And then maybe afterwards play another medallion to move it another 3 legs. You could use a medallion to play an additional clue card. So if you've already played a clue card, you can play another one after playing a medallion. Again, if you're not happy with your handful of clue cards, you could discard your hand, and that would cost you a medallion, and then draw back up to your hand size. You can use these medallions to remove cubes from the board. So for each medallion, you could remove a cube. And so you could narrow down the location of the treasure on your turn just by playing a few medallions. And last but not least, a medallion will protect you from the curses in the treasure deck. If a treasure card turns up in the game while you're dealing them out, well, not really dealing them out, while you're auctioning off the treasure, and the curse card arrives, any players that have their compass symbols still shown will have to lose the highest value treasure card that they have collected, unless they dispose of a curse. And then afterwards, all the rest of the treasure is lost. If at any point during the game when someone digs up the treasure, there are not enough cards left in the deck to deal out to everybody, that's when you take the discard pile and you mix it with the remaining cards, and then you will do your auction phase as normal. But this will be the end of the game. Once that deck is empty, that's it, game over. So that's your last chance to get some money into your hand, because the player with the most is gonna be the one that has to wear the hat and the bullwhip. So let's sum up with a review. Tobago is a board game that every sneaky belloc is going to love. This game is a really crafty, nasty kind of game. You're kind of working together, but you're not working together. You're all eliminating these locations and trying to narrow down where these treasures are, and you're hopefully tipping in enough clues that you will have some kind of dibs on the treasure at the end when someone actually reveals it. And so there's some nasty sneakiness that you can do in this game, and there's some just some good old fun treasure hunting like Indiana Jones would do. You know, you're in there just to get the treasure and be successful, but you can be a sneaky little bag and steal away. This game is a logic reverse deduction game where you're having to play cards which are gonna help narrow down the search for where this thing is, and these treasures will just keep coming and keep coming and keep coming, and that works really, really well. The fact that it's logic, not everybody is going to clip on straight away to how it works, and they will make mistakes. They might play a wrong card, but there will always be someone at the table. Hopefully there'll be someone at the table that go, no, sorry, you can't do that because that contradicts with that, or that does not eliminate space. And again, when it comes to placing the cubes out on the board, mistakes will be made because we're human, and you might forget a space, but it doesn't destroy the game if a space has been forgotten and everybody misses it. But if a space has been forgotten and someone actually notices it, it's not a problem either. They just add another cube or take a cube off. It happens. It's that kind of game. Now, this is a game about being sneaky. It's not about running around digging up treasure as quick as you can and hopefully you've got the most gold. You can be sneaky in the way that you do get to the treasure first, and so you are the first player to dig it up. Or you can be sneaky by playing lots of clue cards, and every time a treasure is dug up by another player, you'll at least get a chance to pick a few goodies out of their back pocket as well. Also, there's the sneakiness of using medallions. Using medallions to get around the board or to play extra clues or to remove clues is very sneaky. Once they arrive on the board, they change the game a bit because you have your two options. You can move or you can play a clue. Now you might be thinking to yourself, that's not a lot of options, but there's enough intensity in this game as you're trying to deduce which card to play, what action to do, how it's going to help each clue and where everyone else is on the board. There's a lot going on in the game, and you will be occupied just trying to make one decision from one of those two options. And then the medallions come into play and they change the game. They make it more complex, or they make it more nasty, as you may spend a turn just driving around picking up these medallions to use later on in the game to just like go, okay, right, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna move there, I'm gonna take that treasure, I'm gonna do that, I'm gonna do this, and cause chaos. Although I just lied there, you can't take a treasure and then do something else. Once you've dug up a treasure, that's it, it's your turn over. But you can keep playing these dudes and just cause havoc for everybody else. The rules for the game are pretty straightforward and standard, and they are written out really nicely in this book, although this book is a threefold book when it could be just a normal book. There's also a lovely reference sheet which comes with the game, which tells you how to set the game up on one side and then gives you descriptions of all the clue cards on the back side and what they do and how they work. And as you see, I didn't really go into that too deeply in this rules explanation. This is fantastic. You can just get this out whenever you've learned how to play the game, and that's it. You don't need anything else. Another nice thing about the game is you can teach it in two halves. You can teach it so players know that they can move or play clues. You don't have to mention what the medallions do. As soon as someone digs up a treasure, then you can go into what the medallions do and explain all the powers that they have. This makes teaching the game really, really pleasant because it keeps the explanation quite short, and also, you know, it unfolds, it opens up a mystery for people. Players that have never played this before, if you explain, okay, you were searching for treasure, you can move your car or play a clue, and they go, oh wow, that's cool. And then all of a sudden, these stone statues start dropping off these, and people go, wow, this game just comes alive from that. While talking about the rules, one little thing that I do adore about this game is it comes with several different languages, and I admire that in a game, when a game comes in many languages. That way, for me personally, as someone that plays English games in French and French games in English, it makes things a lot easier. So I tip my hat to that. But also, let's talk about the components, because the components are fabulous. These stone Incan statues actually feel like stone. These wooden trees feel like wooden trees, and these huts as well, they feel wooden. I'm not too keen on the ATVs. They could have been better. But the art and the components, like the board itself, are beautiful. The medallions are nice chunky tokens. The wooden cubes are wooden cubes. They can be a bit finicky, as you saw when I was placing some of them out. They just go a bit everywhere. But you're not going to have any problems. The tokens are good. The card is good. The iconography from the cards all makes sense and is all very easy to understand. It's a stellar job which fits into a stellar box insert. Everything holds in there perfectly, which I really do enjoy. And that, in a cardboard nutshell, is that. That's Tobago, Tobago, Tomato, Tomato. Let's call the whole thing off. It is a board game that I really enjoy, and this is my cup of tea. Definitely my cup of tea. That's why I give it a 9 out of 10 on my Board Game Geek rating. Also, as a reviewer, it is a great family game. Obviously for the older family, not the younger generation. That's why it's a 10 years old and up, because there is quite a bit of thinking, a bit of logic behind the game, but it works really well. I really enjoy this. It's gone down well everywhere. Everyone loves a good puzzle, and everyone loves looking for treasure and going away with some stuff in their hand, and that's what this game does. So there you go, that's my video. I'd like to thank you very much for watching and putting up with my voice like it does. And if you enjoyed this video, share it with others. If you like what you see, subscribe to my channel. If you want to check out some more, you can go to boardgameseverybodyshould.com. That's the one. And if you want to help support my show and help me get a new camera, you can do by going to my Patreon and checking me out there and throwing a few pennies my way there, or pick yourself up a little promotional pack of some sort. So, merci beaucoup for your consideration, and I hope that this video has helped point you in the direction whether this is a game for you or not. Because that's what we do here, because you don't have to own every single board game out there, you just need to own a few good ones, and hopefully I have pointed you in the right direction whether this is a game for you or not, whether it's a Tobago or Tobago. Thanks. Ciao for now. Just sitting at the table now.